Hello. So, I've been thinking about one thing lately, that YouTube is quite filled with a lot of self-helping videos and tips on how to, deal with your problems to get better and take care of yourself better, etc., etc. And that's all good to follow tips, and we all need advice because it's really easy to get stuck in your own brain. But one important thing that I think might be the reason whether you are capable of actually following these tips or not is whether or not you are willing to really change. It's possible to read, hundreds of self-help books and to go to so many therapists and go to so many psychologists and, watch all of YouTube and you do what you're told. But I've met a lot of people who still haven't been able to change their habits or their bad behavior or their mental health. And it might be actually that they then feel even more miserable when they started because they did everything right, So I'm not saying you shouldn't follow tips and you shouldn't do advice because it does help. But with some things, if it doesn't change anything, it might be really crucial for you to really understand whether or not you're willing to change and how much you're willing to change and how much you're willing to sacrifice in order to get what you want and how much you are willing to face your worst fear in order to get what you want. So in this video, I thought I would talk a little bit about the process of change. What is it actually that triggers a positive flow of change? What is it actually that starts the domino effect? Because all of these tips, all of these advices, they have totally different result, I would say, whether or not you are totally surrendered to the change, that's totally surrendered to doing whatever it takes to change, or whether you are doing the tips and advices and doing all the right things, but you still have resistance. You still have a part of you that hasn't fully surrendered to the fact that you need to do something different in order to get what you want. And I stress this. I think this is very important because I think it's useless for you to, people put so much energy in doing all the right things, but maybe, and they work on themselves, but it becomes inefficient after a while if they are not clear with the most important question. First of all, am I willing to change? Am I willing to confront my fear in order to live my life fully? Am I willing to let something in me die in order for something else to live? So that's often what comes up in therapy. In therapy, when I meet clients, first we explore the problem. I listen and, I try to understand the person, and then I identify what are the obstacles that the person puts in front of themselves that makes them sustain their problem, their bad situation. And when that all is identified, we often come to the question of will and the question of motivation. And if I ask the client, okay, so are you willing to change? Are you willing to do, are you willing to connect more with yourself and to be more open, say? to try to do that instead of being in this disconnection, for example. And the person immediately might say, yes. And then I ask, yes, okay. So how do you know? How do you feel that yes? Well, I don't know. It's just, this is what I want to change. I don't want to feel bad anymore. I don't want to feel disconnected. I don't want my problems. I want the better stuff. I want to feel better. So of course I want this. Okay, yeah, but so are you willing to really do the work? Are you willing to really be uncomfortable? Because it is uncomfortable when you are leaving a life that you're used to, a way of living, habits that you used to have, and you're entering this unknown space of, say, connection, more honesty, being more direct, of more love, more positive vibe, more raw feelings, more connection with life. That is the space that you want to enter, but it's unknown to you. So yeah. Do you want that? Yeah, I want it. Yeah. Okay, so why do you, when you say it, look away, feel totally detached when you say it, and then wait for me to tell you how to do it? And then the client often, goes more inward instead of just waiting for me to tell them what to do. And they start to focus their attention more on how they actually feel that they want to change. And then they start to get information that is actually more honest, that yes, they want to change. However, there is a huge part in them that is, for example, scared, or that is full of pain, or that is full of anger, or that is full of neglect, or that is basically saying, no, I don't want to change. And then the therapy starts, I would say, when you have this moment of where the patient starts, where the client starts to get more honest. Yes, I want to change, but there is also all that. There's also that I don't want to. Well, why not? Well, it's uncomfortable. Yeah, in what way? Well, this other life, this life I'm living right now, which is with depression, and which is more isolation and disconnection, I know that life. It's more familiar for me. Yes, it's home, right? It's what you've grown up with. And even though it makes you suffer, it's a familiar suffering. So of course, one part of you rather would stay with the life you have right now than trying to go into this new life, or into this new mindset that is totally new for you, unknown, and where you actually don't know what you will find. Because the truth is, with change comes also often losses. So it might be that you're taking a risk of leaving something old behind, and it might be that you lose not only parts of yourself, it also might be that you lose actual, relationships, real relationships, or habits, or jobs, or, your life might actually change if you change, but you don't know in what way. So that is the risk you will have to take in order to potentially get what you actually want. You first have to make that leap, that leap of faith. You first, which is, I would say, when you're doing that, the treatment is done in a way. Actually, when the patient actually says yes, and feels it and takes the leap to the unknown, then a lot of the rest is coming automatically. Because then the brain has opened up, and then your own inner healing intelligence has opened up and started to be the driving force for you, instead of this resistance, instead of this parts in you that protects you and wants you to not change, wants you to stay where you are for good reasons. As I talked about in other videos, it's totally understandable that you don't want to change. It's totally understandable that you want to keep your defenses, you want to keep your depression, you want to keep your fear, aka your anxiety, you want to keep your isolation. I totally get it. You know, it's familiar, and you know what you get. You have control. But the thing is, when you then seek advice for someone else, and if you're still not clear that you want to leave that familiar space, then that advice, it will help you a little bit, but not all the way. If you want most efficient help, if you want to get the most out of an advice, then you first have to do the inner work of asking yourself, how much am I willing to change? Am I willing to actually leave my old ways behind and to enter new ways, to enter a potential new life, new personality, a new person? Well, anyway, it's coming back to who you once were, maybe, so that depends on how you frame it. But you have to do, I would say, that inner work first in order to get the most out of advices. Otherwise, you might end up more miserable than before when you've done all the right things, but not the most important work within yourself. So, am I willing to do something scary in order to get what I want? Am I willing to die? So this is actually a very existential work. This is also to understand why it's so difficult to change. It's because it has to do with life and death. It has to do with, it's not just to end and habit. It's actually to say goodbye to part of your life that shaped you, which is to say goodbye to part of your origin, to a part of your family. So it's actually to cut the cord in a way, to cut the loyalty to a past, to the past, which is very, very emotional work. It's not just, this is why, when a patient say, so are you willing to do the work? Yes. And if they just say it easy, I know they don't mean it, because it's not easy. I have a lot of respect for how hard it is, because it has to do with very, very often strong emotions. It has to do with your attachment to life, to the life you know. So change is not only for you. It's not something you do isolated for yourself. When you change, it's actually about also changing someone else's life. It's changing, in a way, the relationship you have with your parents, your family of origin. It's changing the relationship you have with a partner. So it's not that you're an isolated island. When you change, all of the people that are affected by you also feel this change. So that's why it's not so easy to just, I want to change. It's because then all of a sudden you start to vibrating out something else than depression and isolation. You start to vibrating out maybe openness and wanting to connect, and more self-worth, and more seeing your own value and how other people don't value you. So then all of a sudden your relationships will change, and maybe it means that you will lose some relationships, friends or family will become distant, or some will become more close and more intimate. And it might be that this wasn't what you planned. Maybe you had an idea of a relationship that would last forever, but with this change, once you say yes to this to yourself, to this change, to wanting to do something better for yourself, then you can't really stop the process. It's out of your control. You can't really, then control who you want to keep in your life or not, because it's this inner force that has an influence on that. It becomes more automatic that you see, wow, this person doesn't treat me that well, because that person doesn't treat him or her that well, so it doesn't treat me well. And all of a sudden I see it. And even though I really love this person, I really appreciate this person, I really want well for this person, but now my self-worth is bigger, so I can't be in this close relationship anymore with this person. It's just, my body just says, no, it doesn't work. I have to figure out another way of having a relationship with this person, which is not that intimate. And maybe, though, if I change, it might be one hope that I can hold on to. Maybe that my change might influence this person to also start to change. So that's also the domino effect. Like when you really start to value yourself and start that inner work, it not only changes, a domino effect in your life, but it also becomes a domino effect of how your change influence someone else to change. And this is very important, because this has to do with, you cannot make someone else change. You cannot, if you really have a loved one that you see is not having a good life, is not treating yourself good, you cannot force change upon someone else. You cannot force someone to change. But if you work on yourself, if you change, that is actually a chance to help your friend, to help the other person change. Because it's not only inspiring, but it's also start to trigger emotions in people around you when you are treating yourself better, when you are treating yourself with stronger value, when you are more present in yourself, it will trigger the emotions around people who not value themselves. And that is more efficient. That will have greater effect than if you say, oh, you need to change, or you need to treat yourself better, when you yourself don't treat yourself better. That doesn't have as great effect. So if you're doing a lot of the right things, but you still don't feel that you don't still see or feel the change in your life, then it might be time to ask yourself, okay, have I really done the leap of faith? Have I really decided to risk losing it all in order to gain some? Isn't that a song? I think it is. Yeah. Who is that? Yeah, anyway. Lauryn Hill? I don't know. Something like that. So that's the thing. That's the factor. That's the how do you say, action potential. When you take that leap of faith, then afterwards you are more open, then you have died, then you are surrendered, and then all of the potential can grow from there. And then you're open, so then you will notice that all of the advice coming your way, even the most simplest advice, like love is all we need, it will just, wow, now I understand what that means. Now I feel it totally in my body. Yes, love is all we need. So even the most, cliche quotes or advice, if you're in that open state, when you're totally surrendered and you've sort of, said goodbye to past parts of you, then you will experience all of the advices in a whole new way. And the same thing happens when we learn, like a learning process. So I teach a lot, and when I see that in students, like when they train for me several years, and like I say something the first year, and they're like, okay, yeah, I get it, yeah, that's interesting, yeah. And then the second year, whoa, now I remember what you said last year, and now you're saying the same thing, but now I feel it in a different way. And then the third year, then when I say the same thing again, it's like, then it's a totally, a whole embodiment of understanding of what I said, even though it was the same thing, but it's like they're more open now. They have done some surrendering work. And so when the body is more open, the most simplest messages become very complex or very, very profound in the body. Because in a way, most of us know how you're supposed to live a good life, and that love is important, and you're supposed to have boundaries and blah, blah, blah. Why is it so difficult to just, do what is most important for us and to take care of ourselves? Well, because we have our past, and we have our traumas, and we have all these different protective parts, and we have our resistance, and we tend to complicate things. And some argue that it's because we live kind of comfortable lives, and then this evolutionary part of us, or this more primal part of us, really it wants to make it more difficult. It wants fights, or it wants fear, and so one could argue that that's why we make it more difficult, because we like also challenges in life. But so when we surpass those, or when we have resistance, when we have challenge, when we are scared of something but we still do it, then we often tend to get the most out of the experience. Because then we're walking, we are doing the opposite of what the body says. The body says, I'm scared, and then often it wants to run away, or it wants to hide. But when we're not hiding, we're not running away, we're confronting the fear, we are choosing ourselves and what is potentially good for us, then the awakening has started. Then it's really a process of dying when you live, so that it's really a process of dying so that you can live. That's really the thing, that you really have to die. And and not physically, but how do you die if you're still alive? Well, this is it. You choose to do something that you're super scared of, and you choose to leave an old life, old habits. You let it die. And with the risk of actually dying, because that's you might be scared that if I take this leap of faith, then I might die, I might be alone, I might lose everything. Maybe if I'm more honest in a relationship, maybe I will be left alone. Or if I show that I'm hurt, then I will be criticized or abandoned. Or if I say I love you to someone, maybe they don't say it back, so which is equated to death, or then I will die. So you have to take that risk. And all of this is equated also to the process of trust. So that's also a big part of change and will. So when I say to clients, are you willing to do that? For them to say yes and to really feel it, they really have to feel trust. They have to feel trust, of course, in the process in me, but also in themselves. So there has to be part of them, the part that is willing to take the leap. The scared part has to say to that part, okay, I trust you. I don't know where we're going. I don't know if you know where we're going, but I trust the process. I trust you. And one can also talk about trust in a bigger force than ourselves, trust in a bigger power than ourselves, trusting life, trusting that someone has got it all planned for us, trusting a flow in life, trusting that what we manifest will come back to us, trusting this domino effect. So change has, and motivation has all, or change has everything to do with will, of surrendering and facing your fear, and then trusting the process that happens even though you are doing something scary. So this is my main point for this video, that if you want to get the most out of tips and advices that you can find easily everywhere, do the inner work first. Ask yourself, what am I willing to lose to get what I want? How much do I really, really, really want to change? How much am I willing to not sabotage, to not be depressed, to not disconnect, and instead be more open, to be more understanding, to be more in connection, to be more vulnerable, to do something totally different that I've done all my life? How much am I willing to do that? And how much understanding do I have to myself of how extremely difficult it is to do that change? How much do I validate myself in that change and not take it easily? You know, we gotta have great respect for the process of change, because it's hard work. It's not something you just do. Yes. So I hope this triggered, you know, some inspiration in you and was helpful advice for you how to take care, to be more open to advice. And again, if you want more one-to-one help or individual help, I'm happy to meet you. I take Zoom calls as well, and just go to my website livreisi.se, or comment in the comment section here if it's something from this video you want me to explore further, or if it's some other theme that you want me to explore. I'm happy to do it. Until then, thank you very much, and yeah, may the force of change be with you.